Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Kevin Leon from Emergency Management. Thank you for joining with us on December's Ready Up Winter Preparedness webinar. It is currently 1:22. We'll be beginning in about 10 minutes, give or take. So please bear with us and thank you so much for waiting. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. This is Kevin Leon from Emergency Management, and this is the December Ready Up Winter Preparedness webinar. It is currently 1:26 right now, so we'll be beginning in a couple of minutes. Let everyone come in first, and sit tight, and we'll start in a bit. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's currently 1:30, and welcome to the Ready Up Winter Preparedness webinar for December. We are going to wait a couple more minutes. There's some people still trickling in. We'll give it a couple more minutes and we'll begin shortly. Thank you so much for your time. Awesome. I guess we could start. We should be able to start now. Ed and Matt, are you guys all ready to go?
Yep, I'm ready to go.
Awesome. Ed, let's get a little quick audio check with you if you have the capability. You are muted right now.
Okay, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we are
Yes.
able to.
Okay, okay.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, again, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Kevin Leong. I am with the Ready New York program, and today we are conducting our Ready Up webinar for the month of December on winter preparedness, and we will get started. Ed and Matt, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'll start. I'm Ed Powell. I am individual preparedness coordinator for New York City Emergency Management. My job primarily is, strategic outreach to the city's older adult population. Matt?
Hi, my name is Matt Pavogel. I'm also within the Ready New York program. I'm an individual preparedness specialist, and my specialty is outreaching and strategic planning for people with disabilities, access, and functional needs.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll begin. Matt, Ed, you guys have the floor.
Sure.
Okay,
So, go ahead,
yeah.
Ed. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to encourage everyone to be sure and take notes. And at any time, you can feel free to put any questions you might have in the chat. And also at the end of the presentation, if there's time, we'll hopefully be able to take some questions as well. Matt is going to open up. Matt, take it away.
Again, thank you for everyone being here today. So to start, we're going to talk about the mission of New York City Emergency Management. So the mission of our office is to help New Yorkers before, during, and after emergencies. And this is done through preparedness, education, and response. Our agency is responsible for citywide emergency response and planning related to small and large scale emergencies. Currently, there are 200 dedicated professionals that work for our office, and the people that work for our office have various backgrounds and expertise. And also we have individuals from other agencies that are also assigned to our agency. So education, one of the largest tasks of our agency is to educate the public to be prepared for emergencies. Some of the programs that I'm going to touch upon are the Ready New York program, CERT, Community Preparedness, and Partners in Preparedness. So for the Ready New York program, this is our main educational campaign where we educate all New Yorkers to be prepared for all different types of emergencies. And we encourage all New Yorkers to encourage them to make a plan to be prepared for all emergencies. The CERT program currently has 1,200 volunteers trained in basic search and rescue, and that includes fire safety, disaster medical operations, and traffic control. Within their community, the CERT volunteers, they are there to educate and also provide response. There's also the community preparedness program, and this is for providing emergency preparedness with local leaders and organizations such as community-based organizations and faith-based organizations. And specifically, this is to provide grassroots emergency preparedness and volunteerism. And finally, for our partners in preparedness, this is a program where it provides emergency preparedness for staff, services, and facilities to be prepared for all different types of emergencies. So Ed now is going to talk about the steps for making a plan.
Well, thank you, Matt. And just before I do that, this might be a good time to talk about how to be prepared. New York City Emergency Management makes publications and videos available to New Yorkers on all aspects of preparedness. They're free of charge and available in 13 different languages. One of our most popular booklets is the Ready New York My Emergency Plan that you see pictured on the screen right now. This booklet provides an opportunity for you to personalize and tailor a preparedness plan specifically for you and your family. It's available for download to your phone or tablet, and you can also order the hard copy version by going to nyc.gov/readyny. I'll just repeat that, nyc.gov/readyny. Slide, please. Now, there are just 3 basic steps to preparing for emergencies. Step number 1 is to make a plan. Have a plan in place before that emergency happens. Very, very important. Many people wait until they're in the middle of a catastrophe and then, what am I going to do? Well, quite often it's too late then. So you want to have your plan in place, know what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, who else needs to be involved, what materials you're going to need to have. Have that plan in place before that emergency happens. Step number 2 is to gather supplies. Get those supplies and have those supplies on hand before the emergency happens, in order to sustain yourself through that emergency. Most people have heard of a go bag. Well, you want to have a go bag on hand. A go bag, for people who don't know, is a backpack or a small suitcase on wheels that you put emergency supplies into and have them on hand for a time when you might need to evacuate from your home. To move on, 3rd step is stay informed. Get informed and stay informed. There are a number of apps that are available going through that same website that will help you to do just that, to get informed and stay informed. One of them is the Ready NYC app, which provides basically essentially the same information that you'll find in the Ready New York My Emergency Plan booklet. So now let's just quickly move on to some winter weather information and talk about how it can pose serious hazards, like, for example, utility disruptions. Quite often in big emergency situations with winter weather storms and snowstorms and so forth, and ice storms, you'll find that utilities are disrupted. You know, your lights go off, your electricity goes off. There are also transit disruptions where your normal means of transportation are affected drastically by winter weather situations. Your train that you normally take, you know, your subway or your bus isn't running on time or isn't running at all, or highways might be slippery. There might be a lot of traffic jams and slowdowns. You'll find downed trees, perhaps around your neighborhood, because of ice that builds up on tree limbs. The limbs will come down, or in fact, the tree itself might be uprooted. There'll be school closures, health risks, and indeed flooding is a big problem. So let's move on to the next slide. To continue, during a winter storm or extreme cold, it's important to know that you should shelter in place unless advised otherwise by the authorities. Heed travel bans. You know, you'll see, get information on TV, on the radio about you should avoid traveling if you can, or if you are traveling, you'll see signs and indications on the highway and on roads about speed restrictions, and you know, as you see on the screen, winter weather warning in effect. So pay close attention to that information. Heed those travel bans. Infants, seniors, and people with paralysis and neuropathy are at increased risk of hypothermia and frostbite. And it's important to check on friends and relatives and neighbors who may need assistance to ensure that they are adequately protected from the cold. Community members who identify someone on the street who they believe needs assistance should contact 311 and ask for the Mobile Outreach Response Team. The Mobile Outreach Response Team. The Department of Homeless Services will send an outreach team out to the location to assess and the individual's condition and just to make and take appropriate action. If you suspect the person is suffering from frostbite or hypothermia, bring that person to someplace warm and seek medical help immediately, or call 911. So I'm going to stop here, and Matt is going to continue talking about winter storms and extreme cold.
Thanks, Ed. So to go on to what Ed was talking about as far as winter preparedness. So during an actual winter weather storm or event, it's important to really think certain things through. So you'd want to clear snow and ice at least 3 feet away from fire hydrants. It's also important to know that possibly ice might be falling from buildings, so you want to be aware of that. In addition, if you are using a stroller, or if for those who are using wheelchairs or other medical devices, you want to clear the curb cuts so they have access to the street. Some other things that to be considered would be is if you're shoveling, to take breaks frequently, and also if you do not feel well, stop shoveling. One final thing on this slide is if there is a snowstorm, if your car is covered by snow, it's important to clear your tailpipe. Next slide. So some other things to consider for winter weather would be to stay informed. And that's really to be signed up for Notify NYC. Also, you should follow our social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and also YouTube, where we have videos about emergency preparedness. In addition to that, it's really important to listen to city officials to be aware of if city services are affected. And finally, Also to visit our website, nyc.gov/emergency management, or our severe weather website, which can allow you to take the proper actions and be prepared for winter weather. Also, in addition to that too, it's important to listen to city officials to understand the services that might be affected, and also to have certain additional items such as supplies in your car, at home, and also at work. Next slide. So this slide talks about snow removal. Throughout the city, when a snow event occurs, it's important to know the agencies that will be assisting with snow removal. The Department of Sanitation, they're in place to clear the snow from sidewalks, also street crossings, and also bus stations that are not sheltered. Also, in addition to that too, the Department of Parks, they are responsible for clearing the snow sidewalks near a park and also crossings within the park. In addition to that, also there is the J.C. DeCoste. They are in charge of the bus shelters, so they would clear the bus shelters when there is a snow event. And the Department of Transportation, they would be in charge of clearing the bridges and also overpasses. And then finally, the MTA, they would be in charge of covering, removing snow from the entrances to the subway stations. So again, this slide goes through the different agencies. And again, that's the Sanitation Department, Department of Parks, J.C. DeCoste, Department of Transportation, and so on. So on the next slide, Ed is going to talk about the first step of how you're going to put a plan together and be prepared.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, as you know, early on, we mentioned the 3 steps to preparing for emergencies, and step number 1 was making a plan. When you are preparing for an emergency, it's important to develop that plan, and this includes winter weather emergencies. The My Emergency Plan booklet is a valuable guide which allows you to have all of your information in one place. The guide is broken up into 3 sections, which include, again, making a plan, gathering supplies, and getting and staying informed. For example, on page 5 of the My Emergency Plan booklet, it allows you to create a support network of people that you can rely upon during an emergency, especially a winter weather emergency. You write down important health and life-saving information as well using that booklet. But let's just go back to the first part of that, creating a support network, an emergency support network. For people who may be wondering about what that is, an emergency support network is just, again, a group of people who you can depend on to keep in touch during an emergency. That's so very, very important. It can be friends or family members or neighbors, caregivers, co-workers, members of your house of worship or a community group that you might belong to, but essentially just individuals who you can depend on to keep in touch during an emergency. Sometimes, in the middle of an emergency, particularly if you're by yourself, just hearing a familiar voice on the phone or getting a text message from a loved one or friend can make all the difference and tremendously reduce stress. So to move on, write down the important health and life-saving information. And all this is included in the My Emergency Plan booklet, by the way. There's a place for you to fill in that information, your emergency support network contacts, and it can be as many people as you like, but a minimum of 2 people, and including one person who lives far away, so that the reason for that, picking that out of area friend or relative, is that it's important that you pick someone who family or friends can call on during a disaster, because quite often local phone lines are busy and long distance calls are much, much easier to make. So this out of area contact can help you to communicate with those within your network locally when local communications are affected. Okay, to move on, again, it's important to write down that important health and life-saving information, and the booklet provides a space for you to fill in that information. For example, the medications that you might take and the daily dosage is a place to write that in, your allergies, your blood type, any communication devices that you might use, the hospital that you prefer to go to, your health insurance plan, your doctor's contact information, your pharmacist's contact information. There's all of that space for all of that in the book. And this way, you individualize, you personalize your plan right in your own booklet. Also, your plan should include transportation. In case the subway and the buses are not running, you might want to sign up, as Matt mentioned earlier, for the Notify NYC app. You can do it one of two ways. You can call 311 and say, I'd like to sign up for Notify NYC, and they'll take your phone number and so forth, and you'll have the option of receiving notifications for emergency situations, including transportation issues, by way of a text message or an email or a direct phone call. Or you can just go to the website that we mentioned before, and you can sign up for a Notify NYC to have it downloaded onto your phone or tablet. And we'll mention that website again before the presentation is over. Okay, let's move on. To continue talking about your plan should also include communication. You think about how you're going to communicate during an emergency with your support network and with first responders when you need to evacuate. It's important to know when and how to evacuate and when to shelter in place or stay where you are. Evacuate immediately if your life is in danger. Evacuate immediately if you smell gas or if you see smoke or fire. Call 911 if you need emergency assistance. Otherwise, tune in to your local radio and TV stations, or access nyc.gov, or call 311 to get information on whether you should evacuate or stay in place. Practice evacuating regularly with members of your household, including with your pets and service animals, and consider different situations that you might face, like if the paths are blocked or if the exits are blocked. Now, regarding shelters and service centers, if an emergency requires you to evacuate or prevents you from staying at home, consider going to a hotel or a friend or relative's home, or as a last resort to a shelter. If you go to an emergency shelter, wear a face mask, a covering, and keep physical distance between yourself and other people. In other words, like try to maintain a distance of 6 feet apart if possible. Emergency shelters will be set up in schools, city buildings, places of worship, and shelters provide basic food, water, and supplies, but be prepared to bring items that you might need, including special equipment like, oxygen or mobility aids like walking cane or walker, batteries, and so forth. And keep in mind, family members or members of your emergency support network can come with you to a shelter. And if you're a pet owner, shelter your pet at a kennel or with friends or relatives outside of the evacuation zone. If you are unable to do so, pets are allowed in all city shelters, but bring supplies to care for your pet, including food, leashes, carrier, and so forth, medication, if your pet takes medication. And by all means, bring supplies to clean up after your animal. Now, only legal pets will be allowed in city shelters. So if you have a pet alligator or gorilla, don't bring that pet. Only legal pets. But service animals are always allowed. And for more information, there's another one of our publications called Ready New York, My Pet's Emergency Plan. It's a booklet that you can also obtain by going to the same website. Shelters are subject to change depending on the emergency. So to find a shelter near you, call 311. Matt, I think, is now going to talk about the next step to preparing for emergencies, which is gathering supplies.
Thanks, Ed. So yes, the second section of the My Emergency Plan is gathering supplies. So for any emergency, you want to have supplies. And there's two ways of putting supplies together. There is a go bag, which Ed talked about before, and that is, again, a backpack or a small bag on wheels, where you're going to have supplies for about 2 to 3 days. With the go bag, we recommend people checking their go bag at least twice a year. We usually recommend during daylight savings time, but you can check your bag more than that. But usually the recommendation is twice a year. And also, for this reason, if you've gone through an emergency, you want to check the go bag. And also, in addition to that, too, items may perish. If you have certain items, also like batteries and flashlights, it's important to check if those items are still working. Now, go bag, kind of what it is saying in the word, you're evacuating. So for a go bag, an example of an emergency where you would need a go bag would be a fire. During winter weather season, fires can be more prevalent. So for a fire specifically, you would want to have a go bag and have that go bag in an accessible location. So that can be either near your front door, closet, near your bed, but somewhere where you can pick it up as quickly as possible and evacuate your building or home. There's also an emergency supply kit. An emergency supply kit is for winter weather or emergencies. If you cannot leave your building, you're going to shelter in place. So you may be stuck in your building for some time. So it's important to have supplies for up to 7 days. Now I'm going to go through the supplies that you would have in a go bag and an emergency supply kit. So some of the supplies you'd want to have in a go bag would be bottled water, also snacks or granola bars, non-perishable food. Also, in addition to that, copies of identification cards. So that can include a copy of an identification card, like a city ID card, also a Medicaid or Medicare or private insurance cards, also a passport, a birth certificate, or marriage license. So you're going to place these items in a plastic bag so they don't become damaged. And then at home, in your apartment or home, you're going to place them in a plastic container. Some additional items, you want to have cash and small bills. And what would the reason be for that? The reason is that during power outages, ATMs are not going to be working. So it's important to have nothing larger than a $20 bill. This way, in case if you have to purchase some supplies, you'd have that cash on hand. Also a portable phone charger, because we do rely so much on phones these days. Having a portable charger and making sure to charge that before you actually use the portable phone charger. We always tend to forget to do that, so it's important to have that in place. Some additional items would be toiletries, a bar of soap, shampoo, those types of items if you're going to be traveling to your support network or to a shelter. Having those things on hand will definitely help you feel more comfortable. And in addition to that, also having items dealing that is winter weather, having items such as a scarf, a hat, an extra pair of gloves, and also a blanket to keep yourself warm. And one other item for go bag would be comfortable shoes because you may be doing a lot of walking. So these are some of the supplies within a go bag. If you have a disability, access, or functional need, you would want to have additional supplies like an extra cane or a pair of sunglasses if you're blind or low vision. Also possible previous pair of hearing aids if you are deaf. If you have a mobility disability, you'd want to have a tire inflator, which is portable, and also tire patches. And then if you have a developmental disability, having music and also headphones to stay calm during an emergency. So those are some of the items. And also in addition, we talked about pets. Ed talked about pets. They're going to have a go bag too because pets are part of the family. And everyone within the household is going to have a go bag. So if it's a household of 4 individuals, they're all going to have that go bag. So for pets, some of the supplies would be water, carrier, having veterinary information in their go bag, also having a copy of your pet, a picture of your pet, because they do go missing sometimes. And then other items like toys, treats, and a blanket. So I always joke that my dog's go bag is a little more interesting than mine. I travel with the guide dog, so I have a bag for him also. So those are the supplies for a go bag for the emergency supply kit. Again, you would want to have supplies for about 7 days. And the supplies are going to be in the emergency supply kit are going to include a gallon of water per person per day. Also canned food and a manual can opener, because if there's no power, you won't be able to cook. So having that on hand. And other items such as a first aid kit, flashlights and batteries. This is for the go bag and the emergency supply kit. Same for the first aid kit. And also having a radio so you can listen to the news and understand what is happening during the emergency. So again, the supplies within a go bag are going to be lighter in size, and you're going to have supplies for 2 to 3 days, and you're evacuating. The emergency supply kit is for sheltering in place. You're going to stay where you are for up to 7 days. Next slide. So the third section of the My Emergency Plan talks about staying informed. So again, to just review, the first section was making the plan, the second was gathering supplies, and now this section is staying informed. So we've talked about Notify NYC on a couple occasions, but to talk about it again, Notify NYC is the city's main alert program that allows individuals to sign up for alerts for up to 5 zip codes. So people can sign up, and specifically it's small alerts that maybe a bus or train is not working, not running, or to a larger emergency that there's a winter weather emergency. With that in mind, there would be preparedness tips sent out through Notify NYC, and the messages are in multilingual and also in American Sign Language, because we want all New Yorkers to be able to receive that information so they can be prepared. There's also an app that we have, which is called Notify NYC, which is the same as this program. You can sign up for it, and it will actually track your location and the emergencies nearest to you. There's also the Ready NYC program, which today's presentation of Ready New York. We talked about the website, which is nyc.gov/ReadyNY. On that website, there's information about the Ready NYC app. And essentially this app is what we've talked about today, about having contacts, having meeting places, having supplies on hand, staying informed. So all that information is located within that app. And what you can do is actually write out your plan and then share it with family members and friends. This is a great app, but really we stress having a backup, having everything written out, either on a USB drive or within the My Emergency Plan, in case your phone is not working, because that can happen. So finally, again, our website for all other types of information, winter weather and all other emergencies, is nyc.gov/emergency management. And we also have the severe weather website, which you can visit that also on our website. Next slide. So I think we're at questions now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt, and thank you so much, and thank you so much, Ed, for the great presentation that we just received. Right now, we're going to open up the floor to questions. If anyone has any questions, please put it into the questions and answers box, or you can also put it in the chat box as well. The first question was, are we sending these slides? Yes, you will receive these slides in the next few days in the PDF format. And Lynette had a question about repeating the names again. She missed the third agency. I'm not too sure which agencies you're talking about. If you want to rephrase the question, we'll try to answer it to the best of our ability.
Kevin, I think she's talking about the agencies responsible for snow removal, probably.
Oh, yes. So,
Yes, so I can, yeah, so
okay,
it's
sure.
the Department of Sanitation. There's also the Department of Parks. There's JC Ducasse. They're the agency that oversees the bus shelters. In addition, there's the MTA and the Department of Transportation. So those are the 5 agencies that are involved with snow removal.
Thanks so much, Matt. And again, those aren't city agencies, not all of them, such as the MTA, they are a state entity, as well as JC Decode, they are also a private contractor that's third party through the Department of Transportation. So they are just the 5 entities that take care of snow removal when there is snow on the ground, and them having their own responsibilities. And if you do want to track snow removal, NYC Plow has one of the best resources for you to track snow removal on a public entity and a public domain. You'll receive the slides in the next couple days, and you'll be able to have all the information. Awesome. We'll give a couple more minutes for questions if anyone has any, or if anyone thinks of anything, and then we'll probably end it around 2:10. Again, this is a little bit shorter. We have done this specific webinar before a year or 2 ago. So if you are looking for additional resources, you can find that on our YouTube page, NYC Emergency Management. So Lynette just asked the question, will go backs be available from the Army Corps or of engineers or another agency? Unfortunately for New York City Emergency Management, we do not provide go backs for every single individual. We do special giveaways or competitions from time to time that you should always keep an eye out, especially on our Twitter page as well as our Instagram page, and you'll be informed off of there. But the state emergency management does provide go back training. We know that they did this before COVID-19 and the pandemic. I don't think that program has started back up just yet at the moment. They are doing some virtual presentations, but no, we do not provide anything from the Army Corps of Engineers specifically. That is a state entity. And yes, the audio will also be available in a couple, I would say more so in a week. We actually take it and we upload it to our YouTube page where it does have audio as well. And we'll provide you the link when it is available. Well, it's 2:10 right now. We'll hang around for a couple more minutes if anyone is still interested in asking questions. And I believe that's it. We'll be here probably, we'll give it another 5 minutes, a couple questions rolled in. And yeah, we'll be here until we're not. And then we wish everyone a happy and safe holidays. And we hope to see everyone in the new year. Someone raise their hand. Awesome. It seems like everyone is starting to leave, so we will most likely leave as well. Matt, Ed, thank you again so much for everything. And we will have a great year and see everyone next year. Thank you again.